fully simplify this expression. All right, what do we have here? We have a fraction. Wonderful. Do love a good fraction. In the numerator, we have a quadratic expression, right? How do I know that? Well, it's a polynomial, so it only has x's or constants, and the highest power of x is to the power of 2. So that's a quadratic. Likewise, in the denominator, actually, the highest power of x is x squared, so that is also a quadratic. And remember, a quadratic can be factorized into two factors, and if by chance one factor in the numerator is the same as one in the denominator, they can cancel out. So a very common approach with simplifying quadratic fractions like this, or algebraic fractions in general, is to factorize. So you can see factors. If they have common factors, you can then cancel them out. So let's go about that now. Maybe let's split this up into factorizing the numerator first, and then the denominator second, and then we'll combine it at the end. All right, so I've split the problem up. We're going to factorize the numerator, then we'll factorize the denominator, and then we'll rejoin them towards the end. All right, so the numerator, 2x squared minus 50. So to factorize this, I see, so the x squared has a coefficient, so the number in front of it is 2. If it was 1, we could factorize it just like we learnt last year and the year before, just getting our double brackets. So what we can do is pull out a factor of 2. So what I mean by that is minus 50 is an even number, so that also has a factor of 2. So we're left with 2 times x squared minus 25. Right, so I've just rewritten it. I pulled out a common factor between those two terms, and now we can factorize this inside term here. So we're thinking of two numbers that multiply to negative 25, add to 0, right, because this can be written as this, right, just plus 0x. We don't have an x term. So two numbers multiply to negative 25 and add to 0. So that will be negative 5 and positive 5. So x minus 5, x plus 5. Right, and you can check, you could expand this out, and you should get all the way back up to here once you fully expand it. Great, so we factorized the numerator, and now when we factorize the denominator, we'll be looking for any of these three factors, right, to then cancel. So likewise with 9x squared minus 39x minus 30, I see a common factor of 3 between all of those terms. So let's take that out the front. And in doing this, we just simplify the problem a bit, right? We don't need to factorize this anymore. We just need to factorize this quadratic inside the brackets. All right. Okay, so we have 3 in front of x squared, so we can't factorize it like we normally do. So let's have a little side note and learn how to factorize by grouping. Right, you definitely need to know this. This is just such a great tool for solving quadratics or factorizing quadratics. So let's just rewrite this one out. So there's a few steps, but once you practice it, you'll get it. So we take the coefficient of x squared and multiply it by the constant. So this minus 10. So 3 times minus 10 gives us minus 30. Now we need to think of two numbers, two factors that multiply to negative 30 and add to negative 13. So, what do we have here? We could do negative 3 times positive 10. Well, that would give us negative 30, but that adds to positive 7. So, can't be that one. What about negative 15 and positive 2? So that multiplies to negative 30, and that adds to negative 13. So those are our two factors. And now what we do with those numbers is this. Instead of writing minus 13x, we write minus 15x plus 2x. So all we've done here is we've split minus 13x into minus 15x plus 2x, and those numbers we worked out because they multiply to negative 30 and they added to negative 13. Okay, that's the hard bit done. Now the fun bit, we get to factorize it twice. So looking at the first half of this expression, what is the highest common factor? So I see a factor of 3 in both, right? 3 goes into 3 once, goes into negative 15, negative 5 times. I also see an x. And what are we left with? 3x times what gives us 3x squared? X. 3x times what gives us minus 15x? Minus 5. And now we factorize the second two terms. So plus, I see a factor of 2, greatest common factor of 2. And what are we left with? 2 times what gives us plus 2x? X. 2 times what gives us minus 10? Minus 5. So we just split that up. We factorized those expressions. And now, hopefully you'll notice, there's actually a common factor of x minus 5 again. So we pull out x minus 5 as our greatest common factor. So x minus 5 times what gives us 3x times x minus 5? Well, that's just 3x. X minus 5 times what gives us 2 times x minus 5? Plus 2. Right, and you can check, you can expand this out, and we'll end up all the way back up here. All right, so that was a little side note, factorizing by grouping. Now let's answer the problem now, combine everything we have so far. So the numerator became this one up here. So that was 2 times x minus 5 times x plus 5. Right, so that's our numerator. That's been factorized. We divide that by our denominator. Now, let's be careful here. Going back up to the start of our working, we pulled out that factor of 3 first. So our denominator is actually 3 times this quadratic here. Right, so 3 times x minus 5 times 3x plus 2. So that's, I guess that's the drawback of taking a little detour like I did. You might forget to reintroduce that 3. So just be mindful if you're doing some side working, bring it back up to the top and step through your working. All right. So now we have our factorized numerator, our factorized denominator, and hopefully you see we have a common factor, right? X minus 5. So we can eliminate that, and we're left with 2x plus 5 over 3x plus 2. And we're done.